High Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Confederation's exploration fleet maintained perfect posture as she studied the holographic display before her. Her crystalline appendages clicked softly against the command chair's surface, a habit her subordinates had learned meant deep concentration. "Confirm scan results," she ordered, all four eyes fixed on the seemingly unremarkable scene ahead. "Confirmed, High Commander," her sensor officer responded. Just a single mining operation in the outer asteroid belt of this newly charted system. Primitive chemical propulsion. Basic armor plating. No energy shielding detected. Significantly behind our technological baseline. The vessel they observed was, by Confederation standards, almost insultingly simple, a blocky, utilitarian craft about the size of a small transport. Its hull bore the wear of extended operations in the harsh environment of the asteroid belt, and its movements appeared awkward and inefficient to Zixtal's experienced eye. "And you're certain this is of human origin?" she asked, mandibles twitching with curiosity. The species had only achieved faster-than-light travel within the last decade, and the Confederation's information about their capabilities remained frustratingly incomplete. "Definitely human design patterns, Commander. We've detected their standard radiation signatures and material compositions. It appears to be a completely civilian operation." Zixtal contemplated the situation. Her fleet of 5 advanced scout ships had been tasked with gathering intelligence on human industrial capabilities. This isolated mining operation could provide valuable insights without the political complications of approaching their more heavily defended regions. "Move us closer, but maintain stealth protocols. I want detailed scans of their mining methodologies." As her ships crept closer, the human vessel approached a medium-sized asteroid. What happened next caused Zixtal's crystalline appendages to vibrate with shock. The supposedly primitive ship extended what appeared to be a simple drilling apparatus, except it wasn't simple at all. The drill head emitted a complex geometric pattern of gravitational fields that Zixtal scientists couldn't immediately classify. As it contacted the asteroid's surface, instead of the expected mechanical boring, the rocky material simply yielded. The drill wasn't so much cutting as it was convincing matter to reorganize itself at a fundamental level. "High Commander." Her science officer's voice carried the unmistakable harmonic of alarm. "The human device. It's utilizing principles we've only theorized about. They're manipulating the quantum probability states of the material structure itself." Zixtal watched in fascination as the human ship methodically converted the asteroid into perfectly sorted streams of refined materials, achieving in minutes what would take a Confederation mining operation days to accomplish. The process was so efficient that virtually no debris was created, a level of precision that suggested an understanding of material sciences that should have been centuries beyond human capability. How? She wondered aloud. Their other technology seemed so basic. Her question was answered moments later when the mining ship encountered a pocket of unstable elements within the asteroid. Instead of withdrawing, as any sensible Confederation operation would, the human vessel adjusted its drilling pattern in real time, compensating for the instability with a series of gravitational micropulses that shouldn't have been possible with their level of technology. "They're not following any standardized protocols," her science officer noted with a mixture of horror and admiration. "They're improvising. The quantum field adjustments aren't pre-calculated. They're responding to conditions as they develop. The processing power required for such real-time adjustments would be impossible," Zixtal finished. Yet there it is. As they continued to observe, the human vessel completed its extraction operation with casual efficiency. But it was what happened next that truly shook Zixtal's understanding of humanity's capabilities. The ship activated what appeared to be a simple communication array, except the scan readings suggested it was somehow utilizing the quantum entanglement of the recently processed materials to establish an instantaneous connection with its home base. "They've integrated quantum communications into a mining ship," her communications officer sputtered. The power requirements alone should make that impossible with their current technology level. Zixtal felt her crystalline structures vibrate with a new frequency. Respect mingled with concern. She had been sent to evaluate a supposedly primitive species' industrial capabilities. Instead, she had discovered that humans had somehow developed technology that ignored the standard progression of scientific advancement. They hadn't bothered mastering energy shields or antimatter containment. They had simply found their own solutions that worked better for their specific needs. "Send a priority message to command," she ordered. Message begins. "Conventional assessment protocols insufficient for evaluating human technological capabilities. Request immediate revision of first contact protocols." These humans, they're not primitive. They're just different. And that may be more significant than anyone realized. Message ends. As her ships withdrew from the system, Zixtal continued watching the human mining vessel go about its work with deceptive simplicity. She had a distinct feeling that the Confederation's carefully ordered understanding of technological progression was about to be thoroughly disrupted by these unpredictable newcomers to the galactic stage. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a troubling thought emerged. If this was what humans could do with simple mining technology, what other surprises were they capable of? The emergency session of the Confederation High Council erupted into chaos as High Commander Zixtal's report was displayed for all to see. The crystalline architecture of the council chamber reflected the agitated movements of dozens of species representatives, each trying to process the implications of what they'd witnessed. First Speaker Venra, a towering figure of flowing plasma contained within an environmental field, raised all three of their energy appendages for silence. "High Commander, you mean to tell us that these humans have developed quantum manipulation technology without first mastering basic energy shielding?" "Correct, First Speaker," Zixtal responded, her crystalline form carefully neutral. "And that's not all. In the 3 solar cycles since my initial report, we've observed 17 different variations of the same technology, each adapted for specific mining conditions. They're not following any standardized development path. They're simply solving problems as they encounter them." The chamber's holographic display shifted to show footage of a human mining vessel approaching what appeared to be a dense cluster of metallic asteroids. The ship's seemingly crude drilling apparatus morphed and shifted, its quantum field generators adapting in real time to the changing mineral composition. "Impossible," shouted the Rigelian representative, their bioluminescent patches flashing with agitation. "You cannot simply improvise quantum mechanics. There are protocols, development stages, fundamental principles that must be mastered in sequence." Zixtal activated another recording. This one showed a human mining ship encountering an unexpected pocket of volatile gas within an asteroid. Instead of retreating, the vessel's quantum drill immediately reconfigured itself into a containment field, capturing and processing the gas into useful fuel. "As you can see," Zixtal continued, "they're not approaching technology from a theoretical foundation upward, as we do. They're starting with practical problems and developing solutions that work, even if they don't fully understand why. Their quantum drills weren't developed in prestigious research institutions. They were created by mining engineers trying to improve efficiency." The chamber erupted again, this time with multiple species simultaneously trying to explain why this approach to technological development was completely wrong. Zixtal noticed that only the Arthenian representative remained silent, their compound eyes fixed on the repeating footage with an expression she recognized as deep calculation. "There's more," Zixtal said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We've detected evidence that they're beginning to adapt this technology for other purposes. Their quantum manipulation fields are being modified for everything from waste recycling to agricultural applications. They're not treating it as a specialized scientific breakthrough. They're treating it as a basic tool to be used wherever it might be helpful." First Speaker Venra's plasma form swirled with concern. "And what are the military implications of this technology?" The question silenced the chamber instantly. Zixtal felt her crystalline structure vibrate with discomfort as she displayed the final piece of footage. A human mining ship using its quantum drill to help clear a path through an asteroid field for a civilian transport. The drill's field precisely disassembled dangerous rocks in the ship's path, converting them into harmless streams of refined materials that were collected for later use. "As you can see," she said quietly, "the potential applications are significant. Their quantum manipulation fields could theoretically be used to disable or deconstruct any physical matter, including ship hulls, weapon systems, or defensive installations, and given humanity's demonstrated ability to rapidly adapt this technology for new purposes." She left the implications hanging in the air. The chamber remained silent as the representatives contemplated a species that had somehow stumbled upon one of the most powerful technologies in known space, not through careful scientific progression, but through simple trial and error in industrial applications. The Arthenian representative finally spoke, their clicks and whistles translated smoothly by the chamber systems. "Perhaps we have been approaching this situation incorrectly. We've been asking ourselves if humanity is advanced enough to join the Confederation. Maybe we should be asking ourselves if the Confederation is adaptable enough to accommodate humanity." Zixtal watched as the implications of this statement rippled through the chamber. The humans weren't following the expected path of technological development because they didn't know there was supposed to be a path. They were simply solving problems as they found them, using whatever worked best, unconstrained by conventional scientific doctrine. And somewhere in the asteroid fields of human space, mining ships continued their work, their crews completely unaware that their practical innovations had just fundamentally challenged the galaxy's understanding of technological progress. As Zixtal prepared to deliver the rest of her report, she couldn't help but wonder what other simple solutions humanity might develop that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The alert came during what humans would call a Tuesday afternoon. Captain Sarah Chen of the mining vessel MSV Prospector was guiding her ship through a particularly dense section of the Kuiper Belt when her quantum sensors detected the first signs of trouble. "Control, this is Prospector," she called, watching as her drill's quantum field highlighted unusual distortions in local space. "I'm picking up some weird readings out here. Multiple high-mass objects dropping out of FTL." The response from Control was immediate, but not what she expected. "All mining vessels, this is an emergency broadcast. Unknown hostile fleet entering system. All civilian ships implement Protocol Omega immediately." This is not a drill. Sarah's hands flew across her console, already reconfiguring the Prospector's quantum drilling array. 3 years ago, when some bright engineer had realized their quantum manipulation fields could be used for more than just mining, every commercial vessel had been quietly upgraded with certain modifications they hoped they'd never need to use. "Billy," she called to her engineer, "spin up all field generators to maximum. They're about to learn why you don't threaten a mining system." The hostile fleet materialized exactly where her sensors had indicated. A dozen sleek warships of clearly alien design, their energy weapons already charging. Their arrival was precisely choreographed, a textbook example of military efficiency. It was also exactly what the miners had prepared for. Before the alien fleet could fire their first shot, 50 primitive mining vessels activated their quantum manipulation fields at full power. The fields, originally designed to carefully deconstruct asteroids for their valuable minerals, reached out across space with an entirely different purpose. The alien flagship's captain had just enough time to realize something was wrong before their advanced energy shields simply ceased to exist. The quantum fields didn't overpower them or overwhelm them. They simply convinced the energy patterns maintaining the shields that they'd prefer to be something else entirely. In this case, pure hydrogen, which quickly dissipated into space. "Control, Prospector here," Sarah reported calmly as she watched her quantum fields systematically deconstruct the outer hull of the nearest alien vessel. "Target's defensive systems neutralized. Beginning material reclamation." Across the battlefield, other mining ships were doing the same. Vessels that had spent years precisely extracting valuable minerals from asteroids now turned that same precision toward alien warships. Armor plating was separated into its base elements. Weapon systems were carefully disassembled into their component materials. The quantum fields, guided by years of experience in material manipulation, worked with methodical efficiency. Some of the alien ships tried to flee, their engines flaring as they attempted to escape. They discovered too late that the quantum fields had already convinced their fuel supplies that they'd much rather be inert gas than volatile plasma. "This is just embarrassing," Billy commented as he fine-tuned their quantum field harmonics. "Did they really think we wouldn't have figured out military applications for this tech? We had to adapt it just to handle unstable asteroids safely." Sarah watched as the alien fleet was systematically reduced to its component materials, each mining ship carefully sorting and storing the valuable resources for later recycling. Not a single shot had been fired. At least, not in the traditional sense. "Control, this is Prospector. Threat neutralized. Beginning standard material processing and cataloging. Please inform the Confederation that if they'd like their ships back, they're welcome to purchase the refined materials at standard market rates." The response from Control carried a hint of amusement. "Copy that, Prospector. Message will be relayed. By the way, preliminary analysis suggests their hull alloys contain some really interesting trace elements. Make sure you get good samples." As Sarah guided her ship through the debris field that had once been a Confederation battle fleet, she couldn't help but smile. The aliens had come expecting to find primitive industrial ships they could easily overwhelm. Instead, they'd encountered humans doing what humans did best: taking a practical solution to one problem and adapting it to solve another. "Billy," she called back to her engineer, "make sure we document the composition of these hull plates carefully. I bet we can improve our drill efficiency by at least 15% if we incorporate some of their alloy designs." Because that was the thing about humans that the Confederation never seemed to understand. Give them a tool, any tool, and they wouldn't just use it. They'd find a dozen new ways to use it, improve it, and adapt it, even if that tool was just a mining drill. And somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of the Confederation, officials were about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating human ingenuity. After all, any technology advanced enough to safely disassemble an asteroid was more than advanced enough to disassemble a warship. The fact that humans had packaged this capability in what looked like primitive industrial equipment just proved how practical they could be. The Confederation Strategic Command Center was in complete disarray. Admiral Kvex, his crystalline form clouded with stress, watched as yet another tactical display showed a Confederation fleet being systematically dismantled by what were supposedly primitive mining vessels. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked, dreading the answer. 47 capital ships, 112 support vessels, his aide reported. "All recycled, according to the human terminology. They're offering to sell us back our own material as refined metals." The tactical display shifted to show a new recording. A human mining fleet had surrounded a Confederation military installation on a disputed moon. Instead of attacking, they simply began processing the entire moon, their quantum fields carefully extracting the foundation out from under the base, while preserving all personnel and equipment, which were then neatly deposited on a nearby shuttle. "They're not even treating this as a war," muttered one of his strategic advisors. "They're treating it as a large-scale industrial project." "Because to them, that's exactly what it is," came a familiar voice. High Commander Zixtal entered the command center, her crystalline form showing signs of recent rapid regeneration. "I've just returned from observing their shipyards. You need to see this." The display changed to show what appeared to be a massive orbital construction facility. Confederation intelligence had expected to find military production lines, weapon factories, or at least defensive installations. Instead, they found something far more terrifying: an industrial-scale version of the same quantum manipulation technology used by their mining ships. "They're not building ships anymore," Zixtal explained as the footage played. "They're growing them. Those quantum fields are extracting raw materials from asteroids and reorganizing them directly into hull plating, structural supports, and internal systems. What takes our shipyards months to accomplish, they're doing in hours. The footage showed a new vessel taking shape, its form coalescing from streams of processed materials like a crystal growing in solution. But it wasn't a warship. It was another mining vessel, virtually identical to the ones that had just decimated the Confederation's fleet. Why aren't they building more ships? Admiral Kvex demanded. They're clearly capable of it. Because they don't need to, Zixtol replied simply. Their mining vessels are more effective than our warships could ever be. Why build specialized military vessels when their industrial ships can already disable any threat? It's the ultimate expression of their practical philosophy. Why have two specialized tools when one adaptable one will suffice? The display shifted again, showing economic data that made several of the Admiral's crystals crack with stress. The humans weren't just winning the military engagement, they were making a profit doing it. Every disabled Confederation ship was being processed for valuable materials, every encountered asteroid was being mined, and their industrial capacity was actually increasing during the conflict. They're not fighting a war, Admiral Kvex realized, his voice hollow. They're conducting an aggressive corporate expansion. Precisely, Zixtol confirmed. And there's more. We've detected quantum field signatures suggesting they're beginning to adapt their technology for planetary engineering. They're not just mining asteroids anymore. They're reshaping entire worlds. Not through centuries of careful terraforming, but through direct matter manipulation on a massive scale. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. The Confederation had launched this conflict expecting to contain a potentially dangerous but primitive species. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's primitive industrial technology was capable of reshaping the very fabric of reality itself. Send the signal, Admiral Kvex ordered finally. Full withdrawal of all Confederation forces from human space, and he paused, his crystalline form vibrating with what might have been fear or respect. Open diplomatic channels. It's time we learn to talk to these humans as equals, before they decide to mine something more valuable than our ships. As the orders were relayed, a final piece of footage played on the tactical display. A human mining vessel, surrounded by the carefully sorted materials of what had once been a Confederation cruiser, was using its quantum fields to reshape those materials into something new. Not a weapon, not a defensive system, but a long-range communication array. Because that was humanity's true power. They didn't just destroy or consume. They rebuilt. They repurposed. They adapted. And they did it all with tools that the rest of the galaxy had dismissed as primitive industrial equipment. The galaxy was about to change, not through military might or technological superiority, but through the simple, practical innovation of a species that had never learned they weren't supposed to be able to do what they were doing. 6 months after the Confederation's withdrawal from human space, the newly constructed Quantum Exchange Station hosted its first interspecies technology conference. The station itself was a testament to human engineering philosophy. Built entirely through quantum manipulation fields, it could reorganize its internal structure on demand to accommodate any species' environmental needs. High Commander Zixtol, now serving as the Confederation's chief diplomatic liaison to humanity, watched as Sarah Chen, the mining captain who had first demonstrated the military applications of quantum mining technology, gave a presentation to a mixed audience of human and alien engineers. Really, it's all about efficiency, Sarah explained, manipulating a holographic display of a standard mining quantum field. We discovered that trying to brute force our way through asteroids was wasteful. Instead of fighting against the fundamental forces of reality, we learned to just ask nicely. The alien engineer's reaction to this gross oversimplification of quantum mechanics caused Zixtol's crystalline form to vibrate with barely suppressed amusement. Yet she couldn't deny the results. The display showed a mining vessel processing an asteroid with almost artistic precision, its quantum fields conducting a complex dance of material transformation that somehow seemed both impossibly advanced and elegantly simple. The breakthrough wasn't in the technology itself, Sarah continued, but in how we thought about the problem. We stopped trying to cut through rock and started trying to convince it to reorganize itself in more useful ways. Once we figured that out, everything else was just optimization and coffee. A Hegelian engineer raised an appendage. But the computational requirements for such manipulation should be beyond your current technology level. How do you calculate the quantum state transitions in real time? Sarah smiled. We don't. We found that if you set up the right field configurations, matter kind of wants to organize itself efficiently. All we do is provide gentle nudges in the right direction. It's like working with the grain instead of against it. The simplicity of this approach had revolutionized not just mining, but entire industries. Across human space, quantum manipulation fields were being adapted for everything from waste recycling to medical procedures. The technology that had started as a simple mining tool was reshaping human civilization itself. But it was the diplomatic implications that truly fascinated Zixtal. The Confederation had been forced to completely reevaluate its approach to technological development. Humanity's practical, problem-solving focused methodology had demonstrated that there were other paths to advancement than the carefully structured progression the galaxy had followed for millennia. The real lesson, Sarah concluded, isn't about the technology at all. It's about being willing to try new approaches, even if they seem impossible by conventional wisdom. Every tool is just a solution waiting to be adapted to a new problem. After the presentation, Zixtal approached Sarah. Your mining ships have changed the galaxy more in 6 months than the Confederation managed in 1,000 years, she observed. Sarah shrugged. We weren't trying to change the galaxy. We were just trying to mine asteroids more efficiently. Everything else was just practical application of available tools. And that, Zixtal realized, was the true power of humanity. They didn't set out to revolutionize quantum mechanics or reshape galactic society. They simply looked at problems, found solutions that worked, and then kept improving those solutions without worrying about whether they were following the correct path of technological development. As she watched human and alien engineers begin to collaborate on new applications for quantum manipulation technology, Zixtal understood that the galaxy would never be the same. The humans had shown that innovation didn't need to follow predetermined paths, that simple solutions could solve complex problems, and that sometimes the most revolutionary technologies could arise from simply trying to do everyday tasks more efficiently. The Confederation had worried that humanity's rapid technological advancement might destabilize the galaxy. Instead, humanity's practical approach to problem-solving was helping to build a new kind of galactic society, one where progress wasn't measured by adherence to theoretical frameworks, but by the simple metric of finding better ways to get things done. And it had all started with a mining drill, a simple tool that no one had thought to use differently, until humans came along and asked, why not? In the end, that was humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy. Not the technology itself, but the mindset that created it. The willingness to try new approaches, to adapt existing tools for new purposes, and to solve problems without being constrained by conventional wisdom about what was or wasn't possible. As the station's quantum field subtly adjusted its structure to better accommodate the growing crowd of collaborative engineers, Zixtal reflected that perhaps this was what the galaxy had been missing all along. Not more advanced technology, but a more practical approach to using it. After all, sometimes the most powerful innovations aren't the most complex ones, but the simple solutions that everyone else overlooked because they were too busy trying to follow the rules.